Hey, welcome back, folks. It's been a long few months. It's the dude in the housecoat. Justice Truth. I haven't spoken much in the last little while. Well, let's just say it's been a fun and enjoyable summer, and now that fall is almost here, and the weather is wishy-washy. And I still have a lot of smoke in my area, so forest fires and whatnot. So if I sound a little rough, it's because, well, I'm trying to get work done outside before winter hits, and it sucks to breathe in the smoke. But here we are. Yes, folks, it is Saturday the 13th. I almost said it was Friday, but it is what it is. And folks, if you noticed and if you've been following my show or anything else like that, this candle that is above me, over there, is in honor of Charles Kirk today. And of course, anybody who sees my shows, if you see the candle lit, you can also think for someone you love or miss or whatever and stuff like that. It is a tragic week, a wild week, and my God, I guess I really do want to touch on the Charles Kirk incident. I don't want to talk so much about the event other than to say that people need to read more. If you notice that there's a green dot, well, I have another light that's behind me that I was hoping that'll, flash some things behind me, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to go turn it off at the moment, but, next episode, maybe I'll move it. Anyways, Charles Kirk was a decent person. He really did no harm to no one. It may be controversial, and I don't even want to use that word because all he did was speak the truth that he knew. He was not a college educated man. He was not a person who was renowned in, studies, so to speak. He was just a smart man who read a lot, had a brain like a steel trap, so to speak. You tell him something, he remembers it. He engaged in colleges and universities across this country to speak to the youth. And yes, folks, all he did was engage in good faith questioning, debating, to find a commonality, to encourage people to read more, to do things, and to become educated. It is tragic that he is departed from this world. He's left behind his wife and his children, beautiful people. And I say a decent person only because I never really knew Charles Kirk was. Now, I've seen him in debates, whether it was the Oxford debate in England, where supposedly is the pinnacle of free speech in the Western world, yet the president of the club there has said basically he is glad Charlie has moved on. Really sad and despicable in a way to say that for a man who engaged in good faith, finding commonality, never really trying to belittle the other person unless they were outrageously narcissistic and jumping in line at his defense. Then he would be, oh, sort of like a warrior in a garden. And I know I'm not sounding very upbeat, but he's like a warrior in a garden. If somebody went and trampled in his garden, and he would defend it. That is what Charlie did, basically. He was a man who just challenged the narrative that was coming out of these colleges and campuses. And yeah, it's just wild. Now, I said decent man about Charlie Kirk. Now, one thing I will say, I've listened to a couple of people now that are, people that I've followed online and one who I've followed for years, and that is James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe has had a media group, and it got taken away from him. Underhanded business, basically crushed him. And who was there to listen to him was Charles Kirk. Now, James O'Keefe had a 12-minute eulogy. If you're on X, go find his account, and you can see the eulogy yourself and listen to what James had to say about Charlie. Charlie is a good man, and I really would hate to, try and, say things that people said about him that are negative. They've taken things out of context and everything else. And yeah, so James O'Keefe, and the other one was a black fellow who I like because he does comedy and he's also a political commentator. Is Terrence Howard, I believe his name is. Very, very funny man. Even has his own products he sells. Self-made person. And he has told a story about how Charlie pretty much paid for a flight of black children, basically, young adults, to go to the White House for an event out of his own pocket because he didn't want to have these children, these colored children, to not have the opportunity of getting a chance to be at the White House. A once in a lifetime opportunity, basically. So you could say what you want about Charlie Kirk. I don't care what anybody else has to say. My own mainstream media. I really wish that my tax dollars could go where I choose it to go and not to these mainstream medias who are disparaging him, trying to dehumanize the person that was taken by a action of a person who didn't like the way he spoke. So instead of debating him, he silenced him forever. Now, Charlie Kirk, may you rest in peace. Like to say a lot more. I don't want to get emotional in a way because I've seen a lot and heard a lot, including Erica's eulogy and many other people and stuff. But other than that, I really wish that our mainstream media in Canada was more honest, less narrative driven, and not captured by the so-called left mind woke virus, so to speak. You know, news was news at one time, and now it's like a constant stream of propaganda at us. I mean, wow, 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 wow. And I, again, reinitiate, or whatever you say that word, is that my tax dollars, your tax dollars, should not be funding the media because the media is supposed to hold the government accountable for its actions. It's not supposed to be paid by the government to parrot whatever the government wants. So, other than that, folks, let's just go take a look at Nepal. And Nepal's important because what just happened regarding their government. They tried to take the social media away, and there's a lot more to this story from what I gathered from people on Exile, like a guy that I know there called the Grumpy Sociologist. Shout out to the Grumpy guy. Anyways, he's been in Nepal, and he's basically stated that it's a very corrupt country. Now, what's most important about Nepal is that they tried to control the so-called misinformation, disinformation, and what I like to say from the media, missing information, because the media definitely leaves out a lot. Kind of like the example of the march that happened in England earlier today. Millions apparently showed up, close to 3 million by some account, according to the people in the UK. But Andrew Coyne, our Canadian journalist, says only thousands attend. I've seen the videos. Oh. I've never seen so many Union Jacks in my life. The UK flag, the St. George flag, I believe, the cross, the red, white one, right? I think that's the St. George flag. Anyways, never seen any of that like that before in England. But back to Nepal, similar setting, but way worse for the politicians of Nepal. They were chased out of their homes, beaten down rivers, they escaped in helicopters, and sadly, and I will say this is sadly, the Prime Minister lost his wife in the house fire that the people burnt to the ground, like their parliament building. And now apparently they had a vote on Discord. Discord is an internet thingy, if you're not familiar with it, kind of like X, Reddit, YouTube, whatever, very similar, but they had a vote on Discord to see who would basically run the country in the meantime. And that is wild, folks. Wild, wild, wild. But the point of Nepal is it could very well happen here in Canada. Now, I don't think Ottawa itself would rise up against its own government because most of the people in Ottawa work for the government, right? I mean, Nepal is a fairly big country, but it's not country big like Canada. Oops. Anyways, it's true. Nepal went up in flames because the government decided to clamp down on the media and the people exploded. Now, I follow a lot of international news in a way, just like Australia, my other half of me, basically. I'm half Australian, born in Canada, but my father is Australian. They had a big, huge protest down south there, and lots of people showed up there. I don't know what the count is, so I'm not going to say, other than from my eyes and the videos that I've seen, Oh, yes, there was a lot of action going down there. France, up in arms, don't see much on the news, especially Canadian mainstream news, but there's fires burning on the highways. There is so much more going on there. And even folks, get this. There is a person who's of Muslim faith, not trying to knock the Muslim faith in any way, shape, or form, that was sent to prison for a crime which I don't recall off the top of my head, other than the fact that his buddies have basically said, if you don't release him in a video, we are going to burn the Notre Dame Cathedral down. Wow, 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 wow. Yes, wow, folks. And that is just amazing. And our Canadian media, where is that? Instead, we got people like at CBC, the bald headed guy who I will not name, because listening to him spew his liberalism speak, his news speak, if you read 1984, you know what news speak is. He is basically being paid to manipulate us. And he is doing a heck of a job because of elbows up, right? Ooh, look at the chicken dance. All us Canadians that voted for that, and not me, sorry, I did not vote for Mark Carney. Even my dad says, go give him a chance. What have you heard lately? He's got another Brookfield thing tied into the government, whether it's aviation fuel, the modular home business, and the bridge in Prince Edward Island, which, folks, the records for that have been sealed, apparently. We don't even have parliament in in parliament. We don't have people in parliament at the moment. And Carney is running this thing like he is the Don from Goodfellas or, other gangster type movies. He is truly a crook. GRANF, the Global Reliance Anti Net Zero Program. Anyways, Glasgow's thing to reduce the net zero. Basically, a bunch of companies that are supposed to be eco-friendly are trying to get together to try and make it so that we make it to net zero by 2050, no matter the cost, right? No matter. And it is inflicting a huge toll on Canada. If you haven't noticed yet, folks, has he done anything to improve Canada? Not a single thing. He has made an office that will supposedly expedite this crisis that we're in, but it's going to take over 4 years to do these projects. Why is it that people or countries like China can build things on a whim, and other countries can build things within months, such as like Germany building a liquid natural gas facility in their port area so they can have the gas imported from like America and other places. They need it more than ever now since that Nord Stream thing blew up from Russia, right? That is something else there to do as well. And just as a reminder, folks, look up Seymour Hersh, his name. He is a famous reporter. He will tell you who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. He is somebody that I trust because he has been in this business of journalism for years, and his connections to many different aspects of the world is amazing, and he is a good reporter, and I do not deny that he is correct that the Americans were the ones that blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. If you listen to all the rhetorics that have been said prior to the event of it blowing up, you will be in agreement with me. But go seek out Seymour Hersh. He is a dude that writes well and accurate reporting. He's not a Rachel Gilmore or an Adrian Coyne, the other guy on Global or whatever the heck he is on. I mean, it's just despicable that these people have to spew lies and try and propagandize whatever the government wants to influence the public. And because of what happened to Kirk, I don't really want to go back there. We are all Charlie Kirk now. It is time to wake up, people, because the battle that is supposedly right versus left is now good versus evil, basically. The shooter, and I know I didn't want to get back into this, but you know what? I won't get into it. Anyways, Kirk is moved on. We are all Charlie Kirk, and it's a sad state of affair. And I don't mean to get back into that because I did not want to really get back into that or kind of dwell on it. But it weighs heavily on me. Just like that poor girl on that bus, Ariana, can't really say her name, the girl from Ukraine who was brutally murdered on a bus about 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago now, but it didn't come to light until somebody posted the video and said, hey, look what happened here. You know, that poor woman deserves as much justice and as Kirk does, basically. She was senselessly killed for just sitting there. The person who did it as a hate crime because he said, I got that white woman. If that's not hate, I don't know what is. Right, right, right. And I apologize again for the green little lights that you're seeing. It kind of makes it look like, I got a laser pointer on me. But it was a new light that I was hoping that would shine back here and give a little bit more effect because I got a lot of little things like my new moon that slowly changes colors. My clouds don't light up anymore at the moment because I got to put new batteries in them. They're the really small ones. But I will be changing my office again and around and doing something a little different for future shows down the road. But in the meantime, this is my mess in a way, and you can see there's some of my books. There's Niche, Hunter S. Thompson, Forbidden Stuff. I am all over the map when I read, just like when I'm on the internet and looking to different opinions. I don't try and horse blind myself into one direction. I try and look at the other side and all around the issues because the only way you're going to know the truth nowadays is you have to look because a 15-second soundbite is what most people rely on to be the truth. Hence all the hatred towards Mr. Kirk because things were taken out of context or clickbait where they only show 5 seconds of his 2-minute speech. And it really should be the 2-minute speech, not the 5 seconds that you're focusing on. But that is the way this world works. I know way back in 1990, I bought a book, Things You Should Not Know. I got the one that was up there. It's taken down. I will hopefully bring it back down. But the most important thing that I remember from that book, and the author, I think, is named Russ Kick. He still does Disclosed TV, I believe. Anyways, he went on CNN years ago, and he was getting ready to do the show, and there was like, well, how long do we got here? And they're like 30 seconds, and he's like, that's not enough time for me to tell you my story. But and he did, and that's what it's like with the media. It's just tell something quick and move on into something else, right? They do it to us all the time. You notice all the headlines that are always the same. He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to democracy. Oh, get your COVID shot because it's 100% safe and effective. Get your COVID shot because it's 100% safe and effective. That's what they were narrowing it and saying it to mainstream media. And when you have more than one outlet repeating the same phrases as somebody else, that is a coordinated effort to propagandize you, to manipulate you, to gaslight you, to get you to think what they want you to think instead of you thinking for yourself. And that is the most important thing that I can really say here, folks, is that we all need to read more. For example, today I had somebody trying to tell me that the list that was sealed by, Trump sealed a list of the Ghislaine Maxwell thing or whatever. No, he did not. That was done by Biden in January of 2025. But irregardless, there was a little bit back and forth. If somebody else jumped in with my timeline or I jumped in, all I know is that the guy was obviously trying to only state what he had for selective facts to prove that he may be right on an issue. And what can I tell you when I come back at him as a Canadian who seems to know more about this issue with the Jeffrey Epstein dude, going all the way back to like the mid 2000s when he was first accused of doing these things. You would think that Donald Trump would have been in trouble back then, but lo and behold, folks, according to the district attorney working on the Jeffrey Epstein case, Donald Trump was the only one that volunteered to come forward with any information regarding Jeffrey Epstein. So put that in your bowl and smoke it however you like, because what kind of guilty person would go and offer voluntarily any kind of information you need on a supposed sick individual who basically was a CIA international asset spy dude, basically. There's no other explanation for Jeffrey Epstein other than the fact that he didn't know nothing about financing, because I've heard from so many people that are in the know of financing that this guy really doesn't have a clue. Like, where's his money coming from, right? How is he making money? Why was he the only guy in control of the Victoria's Secret dude, the CEO? He had control of that guy's finances. Makes you think. And what about Keir Starmer? His, I'll almost say, second in command, basically in the UK Parliament, has been disbarred, disavowed for having associations with Jeffrey Epstein recently. And look at Andrew. Yes, Andrew, Prince Andrew, right? I mean, come on. And that poor girl that died, they said that was a suicide. Oh, come on, that wasn't a suicide. And hopefully, things will be settled there. I really want to see justice for the victims. But at this moment, my belief is Donald Trump never did anything nefarious with Jeffrey Epstein, from everything that I've seen. And I have seen the flight logs, and they do not indicate that he went down south or down to the island, folks. They rode from New York to Florida. Billionaires, small club, you got a plane. Hey, can I catch a ride? That's how easy these guys connected sometimes. And yes, there are all the comments and everything else, but let's just remember something. Until you, as an individual, look yourself, no matter which side of the aisle it is, and that's including me, is you need to read more to come up to your own conclusion. Don't just trust me, a dude in a housecoat. Please don't. Go do your own research. But if I'm correct and you come back, say thank you at least. There's always likes, shares, comments on the video. That's what I'm supposed to tell you, right? Please subscribe to my channel. Please like my content. Well, at the moment, I am not trying to get monetized. I am doing this because I enjoy talking and I like to express my opinion. And, well, this is the perfect forum to do it. I have a camera, I have a microphone. Now all I need is sort of an audience. If I get one, hopefully that comes. If not, I enjoy what I'm doing. It's been 22 minutes now, and I don't think I really did a good show today. I wish it could be better, but it's been a couple of months since I've made a video. And remember, folks, the scone that is lit with the candle, yes, it's in honor of Kirk today and in honor to the young lady on the bus as well, and the people that are dying in atrocities around the world. It could mean anything to you. It could be because of a loved one that you miss. It could be because of a son, a child. It could be maybe brighter days ahead. That scone can mean whatever you want. It's lit for everybody. But today it's lit for Charlie and that young girl that died and stuff. I am going to try and end this show. I know it wasn't my best one at the moment. I've made this is 53. Is this, folks? It's just positive vibes. Let's try and get some positive vibes out there and make the world a better place. We don't need violence, but we can change the way the world works. And if you have not been to an SPCA, please, by all means, go visit one at least once. You don't have to adopt, but go. And I apologize for the little green dots. I will turn that off next time or move the light to a different direction. Just trying something new. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like the new moon. And yes, folks, the dude in the housecoat is coming back, and we are all Charlie Kirk now. Goodbye, and God bless you all.